Good morning, second graders. Today is Monday, May 11th. We are ready for our 7th week of distance learning. So today is Marvelous Monday because we get to do another Scholastic News. We will be doing Scholastic Newses on most Fridays and Mondays for the rest of the year. So our matrix today for our 7th week, you need to make sure that you have May 11th through May 15th. And it tells you to read the Scholastic News magazine, This is the World's Most Dangerous Cat, and complete the sheet to go with it. So those Scholastic Newses, just like we said last week, are tucked in your folder, your new distance learning folder. And it looks like this. This is the world's most dangerous cat. Now, just like always, we preview the Scholastic News before we read it. And as I was looking at it, before I made this video, I was reading through it, and I realized they never ever said where this most dangerous cat lived. So I looked it up for you, and they live only in 3 countries in Africa. One of those countries is South Africa, one of those countries is Botswana, and one of them is Namibia. So those are the only places that this dangerous cat live in. So like all good readers, even adults should be asking questions as they read. And that was my question as I read it. Where do they live? And since it didn't answer it, I looked it up. So now you know too. All right, so when we look through this, we see the title. We already said that. This is the world's most dangerous cat. And here is the heading, cute but deadly. And then the subheadings are in the orange. Okay, we've talked about what a subheading is and the picture captions. And then sometimes they have a sidebar on the side which tell you information. We're going to say this one's called the bottom bar. I don't really even know if that's a word, but that's what I'm going to call it since it's at the bottom of the page. Okay, so make sure that you read that. Remember that you can go online and look it up online too. I told you about how to do that on Friday. And I will send out the password. It's the same password, so once you have it, write it down somewhere and then I don't have to keep sending it out because it never changes, okay? And then on the back, make sure that you do this. Look, a graph. You're graphing experts by now after that last unit in math, aren't you? So look at the graph, okay? This is a little different one, isn't it? Make sure you look at the information and then answer the questions and fill in the circle there. And then the sheet that goes with it, you do both sides of the sheet. And then there's an activity on Seesaw for you to do as well. So then you can take pictures of your work and upload it so that I can see how awesome you're doing on your Scholastic News. All right, so that's your assignment for reading. Once you get that done today, that's pretty easy. So next we're going to do some math. And this week in math, we are actually going to start a new unit on telling time. So I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to correct your math from last Friday, which was the last part of your review, and then we're going to get going on telling time. For math today, we are going to correct last Friday's, like I just said, and you also need to have the first page in your math packet. So it looks like this, the Am I Ready page, and it was page 585. The matrix didn't actually tell you a page, but it said, Am I ready? And then it said, My math words, and then the vocabulary words, which were in there. And we're going to talk about all of those as soon as we're done correcting our math. And I'm also going to read you a story today about clocks. So that'll be a good story too. All right, let's correct first. If you don't have your math page, you might want to pause the video and go get it so that you can make sure that you did the last page of the review correctly. All right, we had a line plot about our favorite numbers. And so if you remember, Taylor asked 12 friends to name their favorite number. 5 friends said 4, 6 friends said 1, 1 friend said 2. Use Taylor's data to complete the line plot and have the title, Our Favorite Numbers. And you should have known that 5 friends said 4. So above the 4, remember I had you circle the 4 and it meant this. You needed to put 5 X's because each X stood for a friend, and 5 friends said 4 was their favorite number. Then 6 friends said 1, so 6 X's above the 1, and 1 friend said 2 was their favorite number. So that's what your line plot should have looked like. Number 14, a tricycle has 3 wheels, a bike has 2 wheels. How many wheels are there on 4 tricycles and 3 bikes? And if you remember, I told you that it would be best to draw a picture. That would be the easiest way to solve it. So I even helped you draw that picture. Here's your tricycles, and 4 of them with 3 wheels each. And here's your bikes, 3 bikes with 2 wheels each. And if you counted up all the wheels, you should have gotten 18. And the last one, there were 4 giraffes at the zoo. Each giraffe has 4 legs. How many legs are there in all? So once again, I told you to draw a picture. So here's the 4 legs on one giraffe, the second giraffe, the third giraffe, and the 4th giraffe. And if you count up all the legs, you should have gotten 16. I bet you got all of those correct. Those were easy. All right, and here was your reflect page where you just had 4 problems to do. So you had to write the total of tallies. By now you're thinking that's pretty easy, aren't you? And then you had to turn that tally chart into a picture graph. So there's your 5 circles, your 4 circles, and your 3 circles. And then you had to make a bar graph. So I used yellow, red, and orange because it was about bananas, apples, and oranges. You could have used whatever color you wanted, as long as you had 5 here, 4 here, and 3 here. And then the last one said, how many people like apples or bananas? And 5 liked bananas, and 4 liked apples. So 5 plus 4 is 9. So your answer should have been 9. I'm sure you all did a wonderful job on that. All right. So for today, I am going to read to you Clocks and More Clocks. And it's a story by Pat Hutchins. One day, Mr. Higgins found a clock in the attic. You know what? I think I'm going to try to read it and hold the camera because this isn't working so well underneath my book camera. It's a short story, so we'll be okay. It looked very splendid standing there. How many of you know that this is called a grandfather clock? Maybe some of you have some at your house or your grandparents' house. How do I know if it's correct, he thought. So he went out and bought another, which he placed in the bedroom. There's his house, and he wants to know how he knows if the clock is correct. 3 o'clock, said Mr. Higgins. I'll see if the other clock is right. He ran up to the attic, but the clock said 1 minute past 3. How do I know which one is right, he thought. So he went out and bought another. Which he placed in the kitchen. 10 minutes to 4. I'll check the others. He ran up to the attic. The attic clock said 8 minutes to 4. So the problem in the story is that all his clocks are different, aren't they? Is there a reason for that? He ran down to the bedroom. The bedroom clock said 7 minutes to 4. I still don't know which one is right, he thought. So he went out and bought another, which he placed in the hall. 20 minutes past 4, he said, and ran up to the attic. The attic clock said 23 minutes past 4. Have you figured out the problem in the story yet? He ran down to the kitchen. The kitchen clock said 25 minutes past 4. He ran up to the bedroom. The bedroom clock said 26 minutes past 4. This is no good at all, thought Mr. Higgins. So he goes to see somebody. And he went to the clockmaker. My hall clock says 20 minutes past 4. My attic clock says 23 minutes past 4. My kitchen clock says 25 minutes past 4. My bedroom clock says 26 minutes past 4. And I don't know which is right, said Mr. Higgins. So what's happening in the story? By the time he runs all over the house, it's changed time, hasn't it? Because it takes him a while to get from the attic to the kitchen to the bedroom. So the clockmaker went to the house to look at the clocks. The hall clock said 5 o'clock. There's nothing wrong with this clock, said the clockmaker. Look. See how he holds up his own pocket watch right here in the story? And they match, don't they? The kitchen clock said 1 minute past 5. There, shouted Mr. Higgins. Your watch said 5 o'clock, but it is 1 minute past now, said the clockmaker. Look. So now his pocket watch still matches, doesn't it? Because that is what time it is. Mr. Higgins just didn't realize it took time to go from one room to the other, so in the meantime, the clocks changed, didn't they? The bedroom clock said 2 minutes past 5. Absolutely correct, said the clockmaker. Look, they're the same. The attic clock said 3 minutes past 5. There's nothing wrong with this clock either. Look. What a wonderful watch, said Mr. Higgins. And he went out and bought one. And since he bought his watch, all his clocks have been right. That's a good story on telling time, isn't it? All right. I'm going to go ahead and put this back under here. And we are going to talk about today what your assignment is. Oh my goodness, this is hard to put underneath the camera, isn't it? Sorry about that. All right. So, am I ready? My math words, my vocabulary cards. We're going to go over some vocabulary cards for the unit. And I already cut mine out. In your packet, they're just on a sheet, aren't they? Okay, so there's 10 of these. We're just going to go over these. So, there are 2 types of clocks that we usually have, and one of them is called an analog clock. And that's the type of clock that has numbers on it that go around in a circle. And so they have another type of clock here, but they X'd that out because an analog clock is this one, not this one. And on the back it says, a clock that uses only numbers to show time. And what they really should have said is it looks like this. This shows numbers too, but that's a different kind of clock, okay? That kind of clock is called a digital clock. And that's the one that most of us have in our homes, above the microwave or on our watch or on our iPhones. So that's what most of us have. But this is an analog clock. So this one's crossed off to show you that this is the digital clock. Okay? This one is the one that said a clock uses only numbers to show time. Ha! It was stuck underneath. This first one about the analog clock says a clock that has an hour hand and a minute hand. That's more like it. All right, it was right. I just had 2 stuck together, didn't I? All right, so those are your 2 types of clocks, and we're going to learn how to tell time on an analog clock. All right? Then, something else you need to know is that there's an hour hand on an analog clock, and it's the red one. It's the short hand. Okay, and so it says the shorter hand on a clock that tells the hour. So if you see this, the red one's the hour. It's the shorter hand, okay? And the longer hand that's blue, that's the minute hand, all right? And the minute hand tells the number of minutes, so that's the longer one. All right, then there's an hour, okay? And an hour is when this minute hand on the 12 goes all the way around back up to the next hour. And on this, the hour, the digital clock, the hour one is the first number. And then here's a half hour. And a half hour equals 30 minutes. So we say it's 5:30. And we'll talk more about this as we get into the unit. Here's the minute. Okay, 1 minute equals 60 seconds. And sometimes you can see that on some of the analog clocks, the ones at school you can see that little red one, click, 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 click for each second. And as that goes around 60 seconds, that's 1 minute. And then your blue hand moves. You can kind of see this is on the 12, and this is on the little mark after the 12. Okay, and it says, a unit to measure time. Each tick mark on an analog clock. 1 minute equals 60 seconds, and 60 minutes equals an hour. Okay, and here's a quarter hour. That's 15 minutes. We'll talk about that as we get into the chapter a little more. A quarter hour is 15 minutes, sometimes called quarter past or quarter till. 4 quarter hours equal 1 hour, just like 4 quarters equal $1. And then the last two are AM, which means at morning, the hours from midnight until noon, and then PM, which means past morning. And those are the hours from noon until midnight. Okay, so we'll talk all about that as we continue in our math. All right, so your assignment today is right here on Am I Ready? You need to do this page by yourself, which is pretty easy. I'm guessing you can do that. You're going to circle the time. So what time does the digital clock say? 7 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or 6 o'clock? This one looks like this. Does it say 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 6 o'clock? And then fill in the missing numbers on the number line. And then you're going to have to skip count for number 4. 2, 4, blank, 8. So look right here. How many numbers are in between 2 and 4? And then this one is 5, blank, blank, 20, blank, blank, 35, 40. So look right here at the 35 and 40. How many are in between that? How many numbers? Put 35 in your head and count 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. How many minutes is that? Or how many numbers are you counting? And you're going to count by that. Okay? And number 6, Kira is walking home from school. Circle the time of day for the activity. If you're walking home after school is over, is that morning, afternoon, or evening? Okay? So that's what you need to do for your math. And then on this side it says, review vocabulary, afternoon, evening, morning. Write about an activity you do for each time of day. Use morning, afternoon, or evening in each sentence. So in the morning, you're going to write a sentence. You can say, in the morning, I eat breakfast. Or in the morning, I wake up. Or in the morning, I watch Mrs. Lunning's video. Okay, and then in the afternoon, same thing. In the afternoon, I play outside. Or in the afternoon, I watch TV, or whatever you do in the afternoon. And then in the evening, I eat dinner. Or in the evening, I watch TV. Or in the evening, I take a shower. Whatever it is you do. Okay? So that's your math for today. Once you're done with those 2 pages, you are all done with your must-dos, and you are welcome to do any of the may-dos. So have a great evening, 2nd grade, afternoon too, and I will be back with you tomorrow morning. Bye.